Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are jumping straight into, a really intense situation unfolding right now in South Africa. Think political intrigue, law enforcement scandals.
Yeah.
It's a complex web. Our goal here is to really unpack the core of these revelations. The ones shaking up the police and political structures there. We're drawing on some key reports, investigative pieces, try to give you the essential context fast.
Yeah, and just to set the scene, we're talking July 2025. South Africa is grappling with, well, quite a lot. Rising violent crime, serious drug trafficking issues, and corruption, especially around government contracts. And Durban's port is absolutely central here. You have to understand its role as a huge entry point for illicit drugs. It's a real hotspot for these kinds of activities.
Definitely. And right at the center of this whole storm
Hmm.
is this really shocking accusation. A top police official pointing the finger directly at a government minister. We get into some surprising details.
Okay,
So let's really get into it. What exactly was the spark? What set this whole thing ablaze?
right. It kicked off with Lieutenant General Nanla Mkhwanazi. He's the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner. And he came out publicly accusing the police minister, Senzo Mchunu. The allegation is huge. He's basically saying the minister is tangled up in a sophisticated criminal network, a protection racket, essentially, shielding corrupt business people, these tenderpreneurs and drug traffickers.
Wow. Okay. So what's the absolute core of Mkwanazi's claim against Minister Machuna? What's the main thrust?
The core claim is that the minister is actively suppressing investigations, specifically investigations into these syndicates that have political connections. So it's not just like political disagreement.
Yeah.
It's suggesting the sister itself, the one meant to enforce laws, is maybe being used to, well, undermine them. A massive breach of trust, if it's true.
That's incredibly serious. And Mkwanazi wasn't just vague about it, right? He mentioned something specific. The Political Killings Task Team. That team, President Ramaphosa, set it up back in 2018, tasked with investigating assassinations, organized crime, pretty high-level stuff. But then it just gets dismantled. Late 2024, that seems significant.
Exactly. Abruptly dismantled. And the instructions supposedly came from SAPS national leadership, but under, let's say, mysterious circumstances. Mkhwanazi's claim, his direct allegation, is that the timing wasn't a coincidence. He's saying it was specifically shut down to stop investigations into these very syndicates they were closing in on.
A direct move to obstruct justice, basically, if that holds up.
Precisely. A major blow, potentially.
Okay, so the task team being shut down is one major red flag. But then there's this mention of WhatsApp chats. How do they fit into this picture? Are these considered, solid evidence?
Well, Mkhwanazi says he obtained messages, allegedly between Shadrack Sibia, he's the Deputy National Police Commissioner, and this businessman, Busamuzi Ket Matlala. He's been called an alleged tender kingpin. And the content, if these messages are genuine, is pretty explosive. We're talking alleged bribes being discussed, tender deals linked to police interference, even instructions for SAPS officers to hand over sensitive case files, dockets, to people described as being in Minister Machunu's trusted circle.
That suggests a direct line, doesn't it? Influence, potential corruption, right at the top.
If true, yes, it paints a picture of potentially systemic manipulation.
Let's focus on one of these names you mentioned, this tender king, Vusamuzi Kat Matlala. Who is he exactly in this whole drama?
Matlala seems pretty central. He was involved in a huge SAPS tender, R$360 million for medical services. That's a lot of money. And things have gotten more serious for him recently. He was actually arrested in May 2025, just a couple months ago, for attempted murder. Separate issue, perhaps, but it adds to the picture. On top of that, there are these claims that he tried bribing police generals to protect himself, keep his contracts flowing, and he apparently boasted about having direct lines to both Minister Mchunu and Deputy Commissioner Sibia.
Right, okay. And that R$360 million tender you mentioned,
Yeah.
what makes it so suspicious? Why does it keep popping up?
Well, internal SAPS auditors actually flagged it. The claim is it was pushed through without following the proper procurement rules, standard procedure basically ignored. And it only got canceled late last year, 2024, after the media and whistleblowers really started making noise about it. Mkhwanazi's specific point here is that he believes Mchunu knew about the alleged corruption all along, but only acted when the pressure got too high. And even then tried to frame it as just, an administrative error, not potential criminality.
So an attempt to downplay it.
That's the allegation, yes. A deliberate effort to manage the fallout rather than address potential crime.
Okay, so with all these incredibly serious claims flying around, aimed right at him, What's Minister Senzo Mchunu's response? How is he defending himself?
Mchunu has come out strongly, denying everything. Publicly stated he has no personal relationship with this cat, Matlala. He did confirm meeting another businessman, Brown Magazzi, but denies any link to Matlala. Regarding the tender, he says he was the one who ordered its cancellation as soon as irregularities came to light. So he's positioning himself as proactive, and his office has pushed back hard, suggesting this is all politically motivated. A smear campaign, basically, using weaponized falsehoods, as they put it.
A classic defense, perhaps. What about the other key figure named in those alleged WhatsApps? Deputy National Commissioner Shadrach Sibia. What's his supposed role, and what's his side of the story?
Sibia is accused of, well, a couple of serious things. Receiving sensitive case files and making them disappear, essentially burying them, and also playing a role in dismantling that political killings task team we talked about. He's also vehemently denying everything, calls the allegations baseless. Like Mchunu, he's framing it as a smear campaign, possibly by officers who have an axe to grind. He's even gone so far as to say publicly, if anyone has evidence of wrongdoing, bring it on, file formal charges, take legal action.
Putting the ball back in their court, so to speak. Interesting. Now, with all this turmoil, a top cop accusing a minister. This must be causing ripples right at the very top. What's President Ramaphosa's position been?
Well, President Ramaphosa, when he was briefed, obviously expressed serious concern, particularly about national security and, crucially, the integrity of the police and security services. That's key. But he also urged caution, restraint, and emphasized relying on due process, which suggests he wants this handled through official channels, investigations, not just public accusations playing out in the media.
Right. Letting the system work, or at least appear to. Now, the tenders grab headlines. Obviously, our $360 million is huge. But Mkhwanazi seemed to be suggesting something even darker, a connection beyond just money.
Yes, absolutely. And this is where it gets really disturbing. Mkhwanazi explicitly linked this alleged tender corruption to the drug trade. He detailed how syndicates are allegedly smuggling huge amounts of cocaine and heroin, specifically through Durban's port, using state infrastructure, essentially. And the really alarming claim is that they're allegedly buying protection, paying off officials within both SAPS, the police, and SARS, the revenue service, which includes customs, basically ensuring their shipments get through safely. And perhaps most critically, he alleged that investigations, joint agency investigations, were actively shut down whenever they got too close to certain high-profile suspects.
So it's not just about dodgy contracts, then. If you connect the dots, it sounds like you're describing a much bigger, more integrated criminal operation.
Exactly. The picture Mkhwanazi is painting isn't just isolated corruption. It's potentially a vast network involved in both narcotics and manipulating state contracts. There are even suggestions these connections might reach into other areas, like tenders at Transnet, the state-owned logistics company, and possibly even those political killings the task team was investigating. It points towards a very sophisticated, very dangerous criminal enterprise.
This feels systemic, like a symptom of a much bigger problem in South Africa.
Yeah.
What are the broader political implications here?
You're right. It's being framed as much more than just one bad tender or potentially one corrupt minister. It feeds into this larger narrative of state capture, where powerful business figures allegedly act almost like, well, mafia bosses wielding influence, and politicians perhaps provide cover in return for, bribes or campaign funds, and law enforcement gets used selectively or even undermined. And the opposition parties are jumping on this. You've got the EFF, Julius Malema's party, the DA, Action SA. They're all calling for Mchunu to step aside immediately. Malema even called it ANC State Capture 2.0. That's a direct callback to the Zondo Commission findings.
Wow. State Capture 2.0, that's a heavy charge.
Yeah.
So this is clearly a high-stakes situation. What happens next? What are the potential immediate consequences we should be looking out for?
Well, a few things seem likely in the short term. Parliamentary hearings are almost certain. You've got the committees on police, justice, intelligence. They're lining up to investigate Mkhwanazi's claims formally. There's also pressure on Mkhwanazi himself to take the next step to open formal case dockets with the Hawks, the Priority Crime Unit, turn allegations into official investigations. Minister Mchunu's position looks pretty precarious right now. The calls for his resignation are getting louder, and you can bet investigative journalists are digging furiously. Expect more revelations, more exposés.
It feels like this could snowball.
Yeah.
When you look at the whole picture, what really stands out to you? What's the potential impact of this entire saga?
I think what really stands out is this could genuinely become South Africa's biggest corruption crisis since the Zondo Commission wrapped up. I mean, the scale of the allegations is immense. If the evidence Mkhwanazi claims to have holds up, and if Minister Mchunu were to fall, Well, you could see a significant cabinet reshuffle, potentially new arrests, not just low-level people, and definitely deeper investigations that could implicate other senior figures across police, maybe the judiciary, politics. The ramifications could be huge.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we're left with this really stark conflict, aren't we? A police commissioner making explosive claims of corruption, a minister flatly denying everything, and all of it happening against this backdrop of, well, deep systemic challenges in the country.
Absolutely. What this story really highlights is that dangerous overlap, that intersection between alleged drug syndicates, corruption around government contracts, and potentially elements of state capture itself. It really threatens the integrity of public service.
It certainly makes you think, doesn't it? This deep dive shows just how tangled public office can get with, frankly, criminal activity. And it raises questions for all of us as citizens. How watchful do we need to be? Who really benefits from the system supposedly protecting us? And maybe the biggest question, what kind of leadership does it actually take to tackle this kind of deep-rooted problem? Keep watching South Africa. The next few weeks, months, they're going to be absolutely critical in seeing what else comes out and, well, who might end up falling.